Exotics can make builds in Destiny 2 do some of the most insane things, from blowing up rooms of enemies to providing infinite health or invisibility. But for every great exotic build in the game, there's also a load of bad ones, just like Promethean Spur. This exotic perk is Embers of Light, and it grants you Rift Energy on final blows with any solar weapon. It also grants you more Rift Energy on final blows while standing inside a rift. This is great on paper and can have some excellent synergy with a ton of solar exotic weapons like Vex Mythoclast, Skyburner's Oath, and even the newly buffed Eyes of Tomorrow exotic rocket launcher, but it all comes crumbling down when it can and will more than likely create a rift at a location when you don't really need it. We all know Warlocks love their rifts, so creating one that both heals you and empowers your weapon damage is great, but in the unlikely chance that you'll create one by getting a final blow while stood inside your rift and then accidentally creating one miles away from where you are in an area that no enemies are now because you've just deleted them is definitely a massive no from me. It can even create rifts from final blows on using your Daybreak super, but as you're always using your Well of Radiance, I bet you don't even know what that super does, and if you're one of the few people that do, you probably use it with the infinitely better Dawn Chorus anyway. On the plus side, the boots give you this nice fire effect, so that's cool I guess. What really isn't cool though is this next exotic. Destiny 2 Vanilla was so slow on release that Bungie released the Go Fast update in an effort to reinvigorate the game, and players have been going fast ever since. However, if you want to live in the past and experience the pain that was Destiny 2 Year 1, then the Icefall Mantle exotic gauntlets for your Titan are exactly what you need. These launched alongside the first Darkness subclass Stasis in Beyond Light and have always been bad. Glacial Guard replaces your Barricade class ability with your own personal Overshield. This will have all good Titans glacial quaking in their boots already at the loss of their Barricade, but then it gets even worse. You might benefit from the extra 100 HP Overshield as well as the 62.5% damage resistance, but you are slowed. This means that you're a sitting duck as you can't sprint, double jump or even slide whilst you are shielded, so it kinda makes the Overshield a pointless necessity just to stay alive. Yes, you might apply 40 stacks of stasis slow to nearby targets on activating it, which is great especially when surrounded by a crowd of enemies, but the real kicker here is that you can't regain any class ability energy whilst you have the Overshield active. You might as well pair this exotic with the Verglass Curve exotic stasis bow, not because of the subclass synergy it offers, but mainly because at least you'll be able to get a bit longer of a look at the stasis crystals that you create from it. Speaking about bows, the Oathkeeper's exotic gauntlets for hunters got a huge buff in Season of the Deep, but they still missed the target. Adamantine Brace will stand and deliver a huge damage buff to bows the longer that you hold the draw of them, going from a 38% damage boost at tier 1 all the way up to a massive 150% damage boost at tier 4. To get a tier 4 damage boost you have to charge up this bar right here, which is great and will buff the impact of all bows in the game. However, even though this exotic excels at boosting your damage output, what it doesn't do, and arguably the most disappointing thing about this, is that it doesn't buff the secondary effects on any of the bows. Anything from the explosive damage caused by Dragonfly on legendary bows, all the way to the damage over time poison tick damage from the exotic Le Monarch, or even the chain lightning from Trinity Ghoul's lightning rod, it won't buff these, which is the whole point about these exotic bows especially. Really, this was just an excuse to get my favourite bow out and use it again, but the Oathkeepers actively hamper the intrinsic damage boost from the hierarchy of needs, because to even get the boost from Oathkeepers you have to fire it slower, whereas this exotic bow wants you to fire it quickly to optimise your DPS. Oathkeepers, in one word, It's okay for exotics to be bad, but this next one might as well not exist. Apotheosis Fail is an exotic of all time. No, seriously, you could use this in Destiny 1 nearly 10 years ago. A lot of time has gone by and literally nothing has changed about this exotic. Insatiable actually sounds pretty good as a perk, whereby on casting your super you'll immediately regenerate health, melee, grenade and rift energy, and you'll increase the class ability recharge rate for any nearby allies. Yet most builds in Destiny 2 can do all of this but even better. You can spam Devour or Restoration for infinite health, there's a ton of melee builds, and some bracers will give you unlimited solar grenades. It's a below average exotic, and just like the Veil on Neomuna, which nobody knows anything about, I've literally never seen anybody use this exotic. Exotics in Destiny 2 always stand out from the crowd, whether there's glows, flare or ornate features that you rarely see on other weapons. The Mark 44 standard size definitely have the ornate factor sorted, but that's about it. This exotic grants you an overshield while sprinting at full health if you have the shield bash, seismic strike or hammer strike melee ability equipped. This is kinda good, but given that you can already get an overshield or even infinite health for that matter by other methods by setting up your subclass, you really don't need a useless exotic to do just that. It even tries to tempt you to use it by telling you that it'll give you some melee energy back on hitting a target with these abilities, but when it's only this much, I think I'll pass. There's not even too much that you compare with these outside of your subclass setups, but if I was going to try, it would at least be with the Monte Carlo to try get your melee ability back instantly, and I'd 100% be using it with the Deepstone Crypt styled ornament just so that I could forget that I had the standy sides equipped. Fortunately, there's nothing more really ridiculously good looking than the Blight Ranger. This has everything that you could ever wish for as a hunter. It's an exotic helmet, which means that you can put it on under your blacked out cloak. It has RGB synergy with a number of unique shaders, and it does so much damage that you'll never ever want to take it off. With Savathun returning soon, there's definitely 2 truths and 1 lie here, and I'm sure it's easy enough to figure out which one. I desperately want this exotic to be good, but it just isn't, and it makes me sad. Voltaic Mirror sounds awesome as a name for an exotic perk, and it even baits you with the massively increased damage on reflecting damage blocked by your Arc Staff's Whirlend Guard super in its description. But it really doesn't do anything near massive damage, and the only true benefit is the extra orbs of power it creates. Yeah, thanks for that. Don't bother trying to find an exotic weapon to pair with it, because there isn't one. If you want to see more of the worst builds in Destiny 2, then like the video if you liked the video and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Then if you do want to use a build that's actually good, then you'll want to check out this next video.